Welcome back to the shop. I've got this hook ruler here that's it's in pretty good shape considering it's got some patina on it for sure. And I'm sort of conflicted on how to clean this up because I want to bring the brass out, but I do not want to take the paint off. So I'm going to have to try to split the difference to try to clean this up as much as I can without hurting the inlaid paint that's on here. And then also not removing these marks because they're very fine, and I think that if I were to come over this with the fiber wheel, I would definitely probably take some of that off, and I don't want to do that. So, but I know it's going to look nice, and the reason I know that is because I polished up the backside, and you can probably see yourself in the mirror there, and it's just really, the brass is so nice and so easy to work with. So it will polish up nice, I know that much. And I'm not opposed to working on the back, getting that polished up nicely. And the front side, I think what I'm going to end up doing is my buddy Rusty Guy now, I think is his name, had turned me onto this Never Dull. So I'm going to try this, and we will probably have to do a pretty fast time lapse because this is going to be time consuming, I'm sure. Go over this and see if we can at least improve it without going backwards and hurting it. So I'm going to take some Never Dull and briefly just what it looks like is this wadded up material. You just tear off a chunk of it, and as you work it, it actually becomes wet, if that makes any sense. And you can see that it will start to generate a fluid, if you will, and that cutting fluid. Camera's shaking, that's not good. Let me move the camera so you're not getting this wild ride. Alright, that shouldn't shake this workbench. So, hopefully you can see that starting to generate that fluid in there from what's ostensibly a pretty dry material. Alright, so I'm going to probably cut the time lapse after this and we'll see if we can see what kind of a difference we had before and after. I noticed that I was starting to rub through the black paint here, so I'm going to switch to some Brasso up here and see if that makes any difference, if it will take the tarnish off without taking the paint off.
Awatana Tool Company.
Awana. Who?
From Awatana, Minnesota.
Minnesota. Alright, I'm sure if I sat here for 10 days and did this with the Brasso worked really well on this side. Well, I don't have schmoo all over it. It's done a very good job cleaning that up. And then the Never Dull, I came back and finished it up with that. I could come back and clean the side up, but the fiber wheel and the buffing wheel really do a nice job. So let's bring you over there and knock this out real quick. So here it is. It's nice and cleaned up. It's a Turtle standard gauge ruler made in New York. It is in remarkably good shape for being brass. These things are prone to getting beat up. You can see the finish on that. Brass just finishes so nicely. It's just I'd say less than 2 minutes on the fiber wheel and the buffing wheel. It does such a nice job on that. And I think that if there's a takeaway from this video, the Never Dull is great stuff. It really is. However, I got a little overzealous with it. Just the rubbing. I needed to chemically get in there and break this down. So that's where the Brasso came in, and the Brasso did an outstanding job. It is still not to the luster that you're going to get on that side. I imagine this thing really looked sharp when it was new. But it is a marked improvement over what we had in the beginning with a relatively small amount of work. It was just the Brasso and then a paper towel back and forth. So this is going to go in the workbench, and then I think that's about it. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I hope you're having a good night. Alright, we've got some bonus content today. Clay has spent quite a bit of time cleaning up other tools today. I'm going to give him the camera and have him give you a quick once-over of what he's doing and some of the neat stuff that he's run into. Clay seems to be under the impression that nobody is interested about this stuff, and that might be true for some people, but not all people. And I'm not sure what the interest would be in terms of going through, you know, this lot of tools. How do you discern? Because I think Clay brings up an interesting point. You know, how much are people just completely hammered out? Are they, you know, have they seen it all? Do they care about these things? And that's, you know, to some degree, people will just turn off. So you're not going to get 100% viewership, or the lifespan of these things is, you know, how long you're going to watch the video varies from video to video. And so how does Clay, you know, for his channel, for the content that he makes, what would you recommend that he do? You know, I understand people are going to say, you know, find what you enjoy doing and do that. And I think that's probably wise, but is there anything else more systematic for him to help go through and add content to the channel? Because he does an outstanding job and he's got a remarkable eye for things. I think that his attention to detail, you know, is just amazing to me, and I like to get things through quickly, and I tend to not be very thorough. So I think Clay would, you know, be almost enjoy a completely different, you know, type of viewer, in the sense that most of you guys probably don't cringe when you see me do work all the time, just some of the time. So with that being said, let me just point out a couple things with that attention to detail that Clay has, that he found the original BFH. Well, it's not a hammer, but it could be a hammer. I think it's Kelly from Trucks. He had the original BFH, but this is really the original BFH. Clay takes the time to go through these things, and this is a Cheney railroad finish ball peen hammer. You know, look at how faint that is. Never heard of Cheney before. And little things. I thought this was a hunk of steel at first, and it turns out it's a lighter. How cool would it be to get this lighter working again? I bet you that would polish up pretty nicely. And I guess these are cobblers, shoes, whatever. Lots of very interesting stuff. But anyway, with that being said, just if you got any constructive, you know, tips on how Clay can sort of suss out what's important and what's not important for video content, you know, feel free to leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching.